Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. I feel like there should be a dirge, a funeral horn. This is a sad one.
Or is it?
It's pretty sad.
For me, it is. I don't know about all the fans.
You don't know. Oh, some people rejoicing in what happens this episode?
Well, it sets up the story.
People that want to move the story along.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Pop Culture Pastor Watch-Alongs. I'm Dave. Cody's here.
In mourning.
He's growing his funeral beard.
Yes.
His mourning beard. And what we do here is we dive head first into the post-apocalyptic world of Last of Us with more heart than feeding a giraffe in Utah. And speaking of heart, Cody, this episode's got plenty of it, mostly broken.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, that's the way we roll. So grab your favorite survival snack and try to keep your emotions in check. All right, Cody?
I will.
And let's see if we can make it through this episode without needing therapy. Obviously, you can tell by our tone, something happens this episode.
Too much happens.
So let's just start with it. We start with the episode opens with Abby having some sort of dream flashback. She's kind of haunted by the memory of her father's death, setting the emotional tone for the episode. As well as it shows how vengeance, I thought the mirroring, there's a version of herself there telling her not to go into the room where the doctor was, where Joel got Ellie back.
Yeah.
It kind of sets up this, how vengeance turns us into unrecognizable separate people.
It does.
It was a well done scene. I kind of dug that.
I mean, even if you flesh it out just a little bit more, that like the death of someone close to you, especially sudden and unexpected, like you lose a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
But when you turn to vengeance, there's little to no chance of you regaining any semblance of that.
Yeah, we're going to have, this episode's going to have a lot of deep talk, I think, around the topic of vengeance, but we'll get there. She wakes up from this dream and she's in this, like, I can't tell, they refer to it as a lodge. It's just a big house.
So it did remind me of like a hunting lodge.
Yeah.
Or a ski lodge even, that like, oh, it looks like a fancy, gigantic log cabin.
Mm-hmm. And they're up the mountain from Jackson. They can see the settlement of Jackson, Wyoming from the lodge's windows. And we find the FF youth, which I've taken to calling them the Firefly young people. And they are freaking out at the size of Jackson as they only saw it at night. And they're having second thoughts when they see it during the day because they thought, oh, it's just a little, commune, whatever. But they see that it's a very large city.
It is.
At least at the beginning of the episode. Abby leaves. She takes the first watch, I guess, while the rest of the FF youth talk about convincing Abby to give up.
Where were you 5 years ago?
Yeah. You made the trek from Seattle and now you're like, how are we going to convince her not to do this?
I was so mad. So mad. I'm like, come on. Like, invest in a good therapist.
We go to Ellie and Jesse. Jesse knocks on Ellie's garage mahal door as she's late for patrol.
Although a little early.
Yeah, he wakes her up knowing she's going to be late, I should say. Jesse starts as talking about that somebody had some sort of event where the infected were underneath the ground and they were using their dead as insulation.
Smart move.
Because apparently it gets really cold in those parts in the wintertime. And that was some heavy foreshadowing, as it turns out. We already knew from the ending of the last episode that things could get hairy. And Tommy is in the restaurant preparing the town for the invasion. He's giving them, again, the whole episode is like, yeah, something's going down this episode. And he's telling him the protocols, basically. It's like you're going rooftops and basements, depending on who you are.
I would have chose basement.
Cody has no qualms about telling you his courage level. I will be in the basement with the children.
Someone has to keep people safe in the basement.
Yeah, don't let anyone tell you it's not a worthy cause to keep people calm, Cody.
Yep.
Ellie, we flip back and forth. This episode, we don't get really like these long drawn out scenes with particular characters. I mean, the episode just kind of goes and then it goes and goes and goes.
Just like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah. So when I say it switches back to Ellie and Jesse, it just does. Ellie is kind of dubious at this. She's like, oh, well, this is all just junk, right? This is just a drill. And Jesse, not so sure. Before they leave on patrol, she has this moment where Maria grabs her and brings her to Seth, who is the church guy from the last episode.
That is how we'll refer to him.
And I thought offered a really nice, genuine apology.
He definitely did a lot more than most people would do.
Yeah, he says, hey, you know what? I had a little bit of drink. You got to remember, this is not people from our time where he's had some years to deal with this level of bigotry. Their world popped off before they had their kind of movement.
Yes.
He's essentially, everyone in this world was stunted and are back in the 90s still, intellectually, and aren't used to living together the way we do now.
For better or for worse.
Well, true. But anyways, I thought he had a nice apology, and he makes them steak Sammys.
Steak Sammys for the road.
Ellie, for her part, is having none of it. Offers him really no grace, much to Maria's annoyance. This town's really militant in their apologies. Like, this is not the first time this is the second episode, and it's already the second time we've had an apology or being told to go apologize.
My dear friend Ellie needs to learn to accept an apology and be polite.
Yeah, she's young and fiery.
She is fiery.
And that's not going to get any better as the show goes on. Basically, the rest of the episode is just the popping off, right? Yes. This episode is epic, and I can't wait till we get to the parts where I really want to talk about it. But they go out on patrol, and Abby kind of spies one of the patrols. You're unclear at first who these two she finds are, because she's up high, they're low.
I knew who it was. The people that went out early.
Two people. Tommy, though, as the weather is getting bad, see, I told you it switches back and forth quick. We're just switching to different people. The weather's getting bad, and Tommy starts to call the patrols back, but they're having trouble communicating. It's just a precursor of what's to come, Cody, as it's going to be total chaos. Ellie and Jesse find Eugene's pot growing operation.
Medicinal calming medication.
All right, whatever, hippie. Cody's like, it's from the earth, man.
It's all green.
And we find out Eugene was a firefly. Is that you played the game a little bit? Is that from the game?
Fireflies are, and Eugene being beloved, yes.
Eugene was a firefly, though?
I didn't.
You don't remember?
I didn't play that part. So.
Oh, okay. All right. We got to have a game person. Who do we know?
We know people.
Yeah, we need to ask them if they want to be on this pod with us, because Cody and I are we have no experience to little experience with the games.
Yeah, although people will tell you the show has taken some twists and turns, the games did not. Yeah,
well, and I know for a fact that Eugene is one of those characters, which is why I asked, because I know that they've changed who Eugene is a little bit. Again, this conversation between Ellie and Jesse references Joel having to put Eugene down. And Jesse, kind of the young leader of their patrols, again references that it was, at least the story was sad. Oh, well, he had to. Tough thing. And Ellie's just kind of like, yeah. Which makes me think that's probably not how it went down.
Yeah.
Do we think Eugene probably found out something? But now we won't have this wonderful moment with Gail that I was kind of hoping we'd have whenever she found out the truth. But only room for one revenge story here, and less of the wonderful actress whose name I can't remember.
Moira Rose.
Her name's not Moira Rose.
Catherine O'Hara.
Back to Abby, who is still kind of scouting out these two on patrol, and she's trying to, get behind them, maybe flank them, something. And she's trying to go down the mountain, and the ground gives way. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, nope, probably wouldn't want to do that. And she falls what looks like halfway down the mountain. I mean, literally, it was like Black Sheep and Chris Farley.
Yes.
What was that about? And she falls right into a pile of dead infected. Imagine that after we just heard those stories.
I was surprised.
And the ground starts to move, starts to give way, and all of a sudden, we have a horde, Cody.
So it was at this moment that I'm like, you all needed sticks of dynamite. In real life, in these mountainous, heavy snow-laden places, they purposely do set off small avalanches to prevent a big avalanche to happen. And so I'm like, where is your dynamite?
Yeah, there's dynamite around. There's got to be, right?
Somewhere.
They would have had caches of it.
I would think.
Anyways, this sets off a kind of incredible series of scenes.
It felt very video game adrenaline rush style.
Yeah. And this is based on a video game. It had elements of World War Z.
I survived that.
He's a veteran. They're very fast are these zombies. And it had a lot of very reminiscent things of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. With their battles with the White Walkers in that show. In fact, that was the first thing I yelled out when they start running after Abby. I'm like, this is Game of Thrones! And they're chasing Abby. This whole scene is very harrowing. She gets caught on the side of a building with the fence. That was wild.
Yep.
And like, I'm pretty sure I held my breath through most of it.
I'm like, bite her now.
Cody was hoping for what he thought was going to happen not to happen.
Yeah.
But guess who saves Abby from certain death? But Joel himself.
America's favorite hero, Pedro Pascal.
And Joel, for the second time, makes a choice that's going to have serious repercussions.
That's how he rolls.
So Joel rescues Abby. He meets back with Dina, and they agree to go to the lodge up the mountain, even though the horde has chased them for a little bit, but is now redirected and met up with another chunk of the horde, and they're heading straight for Jackson. But it's apparently really cold.
Very cold.
So they agree to go to the lodge up the mountain, where Abby tells them they are staying, her and her group. The radio girl back at Jackson tells Tommy that Joel and Dina haven't responded. Tommy is very concerned, figures something is going wrong. And when Ellie and Jesse find out this by listening to the radio, Ellie, it was funny because there's that interesting piece of that was very good acting, first of all, by Bella Ramsey. But there's a moment when our things we're holding people accountable for, things we're being angry about, all disappear. Mm-hmm. And that's usually when that person is in danger of losing their lives in our eyes. And a lot of people aren't fortunate. Some people aren't fortunate enough to be able to, even if you haven't resolved any of the issues, you hear a lot about, I wish I could have told them things before they passed. And you can see that in her face. Like, oh no, he's in trouble and we haven't really talked this out.
And I will say at the beginning of the episode, she was willing to ride out with Joel, but he woke up too early.
Yeah, and went with Dina. And poor Dina goes through it this episode. Ellie and Jesse go off to mount a rescue. The Horde, as I said, turns and heads for Jackson. And I wrote here in my notes, this is Game of Thrones stuff. Jackson goes into their invasion protocols, which Tommy was laying out for us, thankfully, earlier in the episode. It's a good thing he did that. Now we're in the know on what they're supposed to do.
Although there's a couple of jabronis in town.
That is true. There always are. The infected pound into the wall at full speed. I thought that was very effective. Like, that was very World War Z-ish.
Oh, yeah.
But it still took me aback. I was like, oh, my goodness. And the Jacksonites, they do well at first, kind of staving them off. They have a whole system and plan thing going on there.
So it was at this moment where I'm like, do they have all the dead from Washington to Wyoming attacking here? Because I don't know if the state of Wyoming has this many people living in it now.
They do. They do.
When I retell this story, they don't.
And the hordes can probably move, I'm guessing. And it could be because the conceit is, and I'm not a game player, but my assumption is that the cordyceps moving underground kind of links all the infected together. Am I right on that?
I would think like hive mindset, but bodies being where they need to be, I don't know.
No, right, of course. But anything, the state of Wyoming, much to Cody's chagrin, we're talking about multiple hundreds of thousands.
When I retell this story, 20 people in the whole state.
20 people live in Wyoming, right? So they're doing a good job. There's lots of fire. There's a bloater.
There is.
The return of the bloater. I assume there's more than one.
Oh, yeah.
And we see after the discussion in the first episode and the action sequence in the first episode that, again, we see the infected using intelligence, right? So a large number of them are sacrificed, running into the walls, getting set on fire. They're getting shot. And all of a sudden, the horde turns their attention, goes down the wall to find another weaker spot where it's just the wall and not so many of the people. And Tommy, who seems very smart, he sees it happening and understands what's about to happen as he starts to run through the town saying they're going to breach.
This isn't his first rodeo.
Yeah, there's a great scene when they breach where he's, there's a few of them there. Well, there's like 5 of them there, and they're all getting their flamethrower packs on. When they breach, 2 of them hightail it and run.
Jabronis.
And even my 17-year-old daughter was like, oh, come on.
You should have stayed in the basement.
Tommy, in the middle of all this, as it's going down, they're setting fire, they're using the flamethrowers. The bloater comes in and Maria's shooting the bloater from a rooftop. And Tommy does this like super valiant thing. It was so cool to watch in the episode where he starts shooting the bloater to get his attention because he notices the bloater is heading for her building.
Yep.
But this works out in a terrible way for Tommy because the bloater starts following him and he runs himself right into a dead end.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me.
And I wrote in my notes as it was happening, I was like, this must be Tommy's last stand. But you know what happens, Cody?
What happens?
He flamethrowers it till he's out of fuel. The bloater takes a few steps and I'm sitting there like, no! And it falls down right before it gets to him and dies. And I was like, darn you showrunners. My ticker can't take much of those kind of scenes.
Very convenient.
But I assume like the video game, like I'm assuming you got to hit those bloaters a lot of times.
Oh yeah, that's not an instant kill.
That was very video gamey to me. That scene.
Oh yeah.
We go back. Well, first of all, Maria lets the dogs out. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
And the dogs are quite effective. I thought that was cool, how the usage of the dogs and how they're taking down the infected. And then we go back to the scene, Cody. We go back to the lodge. There's this sort of standoff as they capture her and Dina and Pedro and
Yes.
Joel, and the speech starts. Who do we look like? And he's like military. And the whole speech starts. There are no more fireflies. I wrote down here was a quote. And where was the last place you saw the fireflies? As they're trying to get Joel to admit that he is the Joel.
I was like, you're barking up the wrong tree, lady.
Yeah. And he says Salt Lake. And they know. They know it's him, and she knows, and she launches into what can only be described as the Bond villain speech.
Yes.
Where she knows she has him, and there is a great, great moment as she shot Joel in the knee. He's in pain. Remember, she wants this all to happen slowly. The other fireflies in the room are urging her to just do it. And he says, just in so many words, I'm going to paraphrase, just shut up and do it already.
Yeah.
So Joel's quite aware that he's about to die, even though we're kind of hoping maybe something will happen, that he might get rescued. That's not what happens. As she grabs the golf club and she starts pounding him on the knee, and Moore just starts pounding him, apparently. Meanwhile, Ellie has this great moment. There's this wonderful moment where she's kind of looking. She's going up the mountain. She sees the lodge, but then she turns back to see Jackson on fire. And she chooses Joel. And again, where we get this moment of choices. I love that this show singles out the choices we make, and even the choices we make in love. And are these the right choices? How do they affect what's about to happen? Now, in this instance, Jackson was going to win the day without her. They were going to make it. But it was just interesting because the show highlights that she makes a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just into this. I'm into this idea of choices right now. And she chooses Joel over Jackson. She sneaks into the house. She hears the yelling and the banging as Joel is getting beaten. She interrupts the scene. She injures one of the FF youth with her knife. And but they overpower her. They get her down on the ground, and she is forced to watch. She makes eye contact with Joel, and she watches as Abby murders Joel.
Ellie has used some sailor language during this because she's wanting Joel to get up. And he tries, but no.
The whole scene is quite effective and heart-wrenching as she's about to lose, again, one of the very few people in her life. That seems to be the thing. And all I have written down here in my notes from this scene, all I could manage was the cycle. The cycle is about to begin again. And the crazy thing is as we talked about it, Abby's revenge, this need for revenge, it separates herself from herself. And she doesn't even realize that she's starting the cycle afresh. She's doing the same thing. They let them live, Cody.
Yep. Which they talked about that they were trained to not kill those who are defenseless. Dina and Joel were, and by the time Ellie is subdued, she is defenseless. But one of the guys, he clearly has snapped with Abby because he's like, let's just shut her up. And then it's like all about kicking and killing. And
yeah, he kicks her like what appears to be in the ribs because she slashed him with her knife. So he's a little PO'd.
Should have slashed him in his Achilles.
Cody. That's pretty severe.
It is.
But yeah, they leave them alive, and Bella, I keep calling her real name, Ellie, leaves them as this is all happening, yelling, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill all of you." And Cody, I believe her.
Oh, yeah.
Abby is a lot of things, and I know that in the game she is a much more imposing figure than the actress who plays her here. That's been a large topic online but like she's ridiculously buff in the video game.
Who amongst us isn't?
I know my video game version of me much buffer.
Yes.
But I don't think there's any question that when it comes to real world Last of Us world experience and toughness, if Abby can trudge, a couple states to finish her vengeance scheme, I feel like Ellie's going to be able to hunt them down and infiltrate and do some damage at the very least. But that is the cycle. And I want to get back to that because first I want to tell you Jackson wins the day, but at serious cost. The town has been what appears to be pretty decimated. There are piles of bodies everywhere, infected and real people. And you can see that there is a cost as Tommy embraces Maria and they just both hang their heads and start the business of picking up, I guess. But it'll remain to be seen whether Jackson can return to what it was.
It can't. It's Joel-less.
It's Joel-less. Now they lost their construction foreman. Ellie's playlist. We'll do that now at this time of the episode. An interesting song plays, Cody. It's Through the Valley by Ashley Johnson, who is the actress who played Ellie's mom in this show and was the original voice of Ellie in the video game.
Or is better known as the daughter from Growing Pains.
Yes. She was also the daughter from Growing Pains. Ashley Johnson performs this kind of haunting cover of Sean James's 2012 folk song, which is originally featured in the teaser for The Last of Us Part 2 video game. So this song has a Last of Us history. The song was re-recorded for the game's release and later included in this finale of this show of episode 2, season 2. It's got some interesting lyrics. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. Changes a few of the words because most of this is from Psalm 23 verse 4 from the Bible.
Familiar with it.
Yeah, which says, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death and I fear no evil because you art with me. And I don't know that the verse lines up much with the show or Ellie's plight, the Bible verse, because hope is at a minimum for Ellie right now, and that verse is about hope.
I think that you draw on that imagery to show just how hopeless and void this post-apocalyptic world is.
Right, yeah. That psalm talks of a shepherd. And for better or worse, Joel was Ellie's shepherd in this world, and she's just lost him. Mm-hmm. Which is why the song's a good choice, because it's a bleak. It sounds haunting. It's very bleak. And then, as if they just want to pound that subject home, when the song ends and the credits roll, you just get silence, and all you can hear is the wind blowing. Which I normally don't leave the credits on, but I was kind of struck by the silence.
I stopped at the credits.
Cody feels nothing. It's time for the Pastor's Corner. Deeper themes. Cody, this thought occurred to me as I was watching this episode last night. Revenge is a spiral staircase that only goes down. In The Last of Us, revenge isn't just a plot device, it's the plot device, and it's a destructive force that propels characters into this downward spiral. Ellie's quest for vengeance against Abby is going to mirror the pattern that Abby has already set forth in her quest for revenge. She has just started the cycle anew. And this is a psychological pattern that you can observe in our world, in our life. The expectation that revenge will bring closure leads to a deeper chaos and emptiness. And I'm going to even go studies here. You ready for this?
Yes.
I've got data.
Okay.
Studies show that while revenge may offer a fleeting sense of satisfaction, it often prolongs negative emotions and can lead to a cycle of retaliation. I don't want to mention any names, Middle East, but Middle East.
It happens.
That's a cycle of retaliation. Well, if you go back this far, it was this people's fault because they did this. Well, if you go back this far, it's the other side's fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a very human thing. This pattern is becoming evident in the show, where Abby's act of vengeance is going to escalate the conflict, and it's going to leave both parties more entrenched in their pain and start to include more people. That's the crazy thing, is Abby has now endangered her friends who were just being her friends. So the cycle, it's not just a narrative choice of what they're showing you here. And I do appreciate that the people who made the game, this is intentional. They're trying to show you this is a story about choices, the choices we make. And it's wild. It's wild. I thought this was a very interesting to do this in episode 2, killing off Joel, and it sets up the rest of the season for what's just going to be a mirror. It's a mirror image.
I was hoping we would get Joel through at least a halfway point. In my heart, I was hoping for that.
Yeah.
We did not. Abby needed to keep more wise counsel. Like, literally, if any of those people would have said, clear back in Seattle, yeah, we're over this. This isn't for us. Like, Abby would have been by herself and would not have gone 2 states over and tried to reenact Custer's last stand.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because now those friends, as we talked about, are in the line of fire as well. And in the end, this cycle of retaliation and vengeance, the only way to break it, the only way to end it, is through grace and forgiveness and letting go
or being the last one standing.
It's like, I don't know that that's gonna happen in this whole episode. Cody, what do you think about all that?
No, I do think that you're right, that typically the only thing that can stop it is an act of forgiveness, an act of mercy. But within post-apocalyptic times, you rarely get it.
Yeah.
Rarely.
Yeah, it's not. We talk about a lot of real world things when we watch our pop culture because we think in a kind of a deeper way, and we love these stories because they do reflect our humanness. But also, these people are all hardened by living through an apocalypse.
Now, I will say, it's not unheard of, because even Negan gets some reconciliation in The Walking Dead from some of the characters.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and do it. It's time for our RIP segment. The Rest in Peace segment. Cody, we're gathered here today. I can't even do it. I can't even do it, man. We're gathered here to remember Pedro Pascal.
Yep.
I.e. Joel Miller. A man who, for better or worse, made his own rules in a world where survival was the only game in town. Joel, you fought through the infected, raiders, and some pretty awkward father-daughter moments with Ellie. You showed us what it meant to protect the ones you love, even if it meant carrying this burden that no one understood because they didn't know, because y'all didn't tell them the truth. We won't forget your bravery, your brokenness, or your questionable choices, Joel. You may be gone, but your legacy lives on in the hearts of those you left behind, and maybe in a few questionable decisions Ellie's going to make in the future. Rest in peace, Joel. You were the gruff hero we never expected, but we sure as heck needed.
Yes.
No! Vengeance will be ours, Cody.
It will.
All right. Who's the Captain Kirk winner of the episode for you?
Actually, it's going to be Loretta / Abby.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only possible answer.
So last night, I watched WrestleMania before watching Last of Us. And Abby is the ultimate heel. She's getting all the heat. I'm hating every second she's on the screen. Mm-hmm. And so, yep, she's doing her job phenomenally.
But halfway through her speech, didn't you almost think, yeah, she has a point?
Nope.
They replay the scene. The scene flashes of him shooting the doctor, and she's like, unarmed. Did you even look at him? Which he kind of didn't. He just glances and then he turns away as he shoots him, as if he didn't want to see himself killing an innocent person that's unarmed. This show does a great job of presenting these choices in the context of like, yeah, you get it. You understand why these people are feeling the way they're feeling.
I get why she's feeling the way she's feeling, but I guarantee that Joel didn't care.
No,
And
Joel.
so, like,
as evidenced by him just like, oh, would you just go ahead, just do it already.
Yes.
Enough of the speech.
He was saving Ellie. That's all that he cared about.
And clearly would have done it again.
Yep.
So, yeah, I agree. She's the winner of the episode. Although it's a funny thing to say she's the winner because I also am like, well, the cycle starts anew and you signed your own death sentence.
Yes.
Who is your Wile E. Coyote loser of the episode?
It might be Tommy.
Poor Tommy.
He just lost his broski. And also, he's going to have to fix that fence.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to care. I think he's going to be in on the vengeance thing. I mean, I just like, listen, the version of Tommy we got in this post-apocalyptic world after he's hitched up with Maria is a leader. He's a caretaker, but we need to remember this was once the very immature younger brother of Joel. He has the same genetics. I think we're going to see a very vengeance-minded Tommy.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
That's my prediction. I don't know. I didn't play the game, so I don't know if Tommy is going to be a part of this vengeance mission that I'm sure Ellie's going to go on. I'm going to get deep for my loser of the episode. My loser of the episode is the lie in our culture that your choices are all about you. Joel's choice to go against Ellie's wishes and pull her out of the Fireflies who are exploring a cure has now led to his death. And Jackson, Wyoming's loss of innocence and sense of safety. What does Joel's choice have to do with what happened to Jackson, Cody? You might be wondering. Well, nothing, I guess, until you figure that if the infected can spring up from under the ground and basically live forever, then humans are literally never going to be safe again ever. If only they had a cure. Uh-oh.
So I will push back and say the cure was highly unlikely.
Maybe so, Cody. Maybe so. And that could be true.
Save Ellie.
But the point is, choices matter. And while we can agree that Joel made his decision out of love, and it might be the right choice in his context, the ripples that our choices make as they go out, we don't have control over. So choices matter. Think hard, everybody. That's all I'm saying is that what this show should teach you.
Oh, I could also put myself as the loser of this show because I lost Pedro.
We all lost Pedro. Cue the sad music. Gosh.
Yes.
No more Pedro is a tough pill to swallow.
Especially since we are in the Pascal Sans.
We are in the Pedro era for sure.
Yes.
Pedro's mustache era, where he won't even shave it to play Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four.
He shouldn't have to.
I mean, I guess. Except for, I mean, I saw that Fantastic Four trailer. And I'm like, hey, why is Pedro Pascal in this movie? Oh, he's Mr. Fantastic.
That's because that's how Mr. Fantastic should be.
You're lying. That's Pedro Pascal. That's not Mr. Fantastic. Anyways, Cody, how many 5 irons out of 10 are you giving this episode?
Maybe 7.5 to 8.
Really?
So I am good with all the action sequences, and the storytelling is good in this, but it's not great. And also, I'm still stung by Pedro's death. So,
oh, okay. You're letting your emotions get in the way here.
yes, as any red-blooded American should.
This is a 9 for me. Maybe just on the Jackson scenes alone. Even if you didn't have this big character loss in this story, in this episode, I think the scenes in Jackson of the attack are epic. Like I said, I compared it to Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, usually, if you were a watcher of that show, there was usually 1 episode per year, per season, that had this giant set piece. That was some sort of battle. This was that set piece for Last of Us. And man, if you watch the behind the scenes little featurette at the end of the episode, they kind of go through what went into all that. And it's just an amazing achievement, I think, for a TV show to put something like that on. It's the same thing as I thought when I saw the big battle sequences on Game of Thrones. It's just great stuff. Good work. And I might add, by the way, better work than's being done in a lot of movies that come out right now.
Well, don't say that about Sinners.
I haven't seen that, so I can't speak
Classic.
to that. Although I'm guessing Sinners doesn't have a huge epic battle sequence.
You would be wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong then. I might have to watch that. All right. What did you think of season 2, episode 2 of The Last of Us, titled Through the Valley? I imagine you think about what we think. How dare you? How dare you, HBO?
Too soon.
No more Pedro. We'll see where it goes from here, and we'll see you next time.